holds the grave. No rush to name the hour. The kettle hums somewhere below, and nothing asked for more. The curtain barely moves. The air is cool and thin. I leave the light switched off and let the day begin. A coat still on the chair from somewhere in the night. The ceiling pale and soft, no edges, nothing bright. I sit without a word, no place I have to be. The morning asks for nothing, and that is fine with me. Just this, just the quiet, just the sound of something low. Just this, just the stillness, letting everything go slow. The coffee in my hand, a little too warm to drink. I watch the steam rise up and don't do much but think. Not of anything in particular, not of yesterday, just sitting with the morning as it fades away. Just this, just the quiet, just the sound of something low. Just this, just the stillness, letting everything go slow. Not waiting for it to change, not asking it to stay, just here in the in-between, before the start of day. Still morning, still morning, just the still morning, just here, let it be. No alarm to answer to, no name on any list. The morning moves without me, and nothing has been missed. I leave the phone face down beside the unmade bed, and follow no direction but the one inside my head. The street outside is quiet, a few slow steps, no more. I don't know where I'm going, I never did before. The clouds are low and easy, the air a little cold. I walk without a reason, like I used to when I was old. Nowhere to be, no one to call, nothing to carry, nothing at all. Nowhere to be, just open road, just a little little lighter, just a lighter load. I find a bench and sit down, watch a stranger pass me by. They look like they have somewhere, and I don't wonder why. I used to move like that too, a schedule in my chest, but something in me loosened and I let go of the rest. Nowhere to be, no one to call, nothing to carry, nothing at all. Nowhere to be, just open road, just a little lighter, just a lighter load. Not lost, not found, not looking for the ground, just drifting, just easy, just the sound of nothing pressing down. The afternoon comes slowly, I haven't checked the time. I order something simple and leave without a rhyme. The day will end regardless, whether I rush or stay. So I choose the long way and let it fade away. Nowhere to be, nowhere to be, just this road, just this. Nowhere, just drifting, let it go. The glasses caught the morning in a shape I can't quite name, a pale and crooked rectangle that shifts and isn't tame. It moves along the floorboards an inch every few minutes. I watched it cross the table once before I lost it in it. The dust inside the column of that thin and tilted beam turns slowly and it's circling like it's caught inside a dream. I haven't moved my hand yet from where I left it last, just watching light do nothing through the pale and frosted glass. It doesn't ask for anything, it only comes and goes. It falls across the corner of a room that no one knows. It doesn't mean a thing, but somehow that's enough to sit beside the morning when the morning isn't much. A pigeon on the ledge outside is rearranging feet. The glass between us fogs a bit from something like the heat. I press one finger to it, leave a print and pull away. The light adjusts around it and continues with its day. It doesn't ask for anything, it only comes and goes. It falls across the corner of a room that no one doesn't mean a thing, but somehow that's enough to sit beside the morning when the morning isn't much. Somewhere a door is opening, somewhere a kettle cools. The light has reached the baseboard now and broken into pools. I follow none of it, I only watch it land, the way you watch a stranger's face and almost understand. By noon it will have vanished, left no mark upon the wall. The room will look the same again, as if it weren't there at all. But I was here beside it, in that thin and tilted hour, before the day remembered what it thought it had the power. Pale light through glass just falling, pale light through glass and gone. My shoulders came down sometime around the second cup. I didn't notice when it happened, only after looking up. The ceiling was the same one, the chair the same old chair, but something in the pressure had been lifted out of there. I've chased it down before, through rooms and through the years, through conversations going nowhere, through the back of disappeared. But this one came without me, didn't knock or leave a sign, just settled in the corner like it always had been mine. Not the kind you find in quiet, not the kind you earn or keep, not the kind that fills the hollow or replaces a missing sleep. Something like a temperature, a drop of 2 degrees, something like a window open just enough to breathe. Are resting open on the armrest of this chair. My breathing goes in longer than I knew I had the air. The afternoon is passing through its ordinary range, and nothing is remarkable, and nothing needs to change. Not the kind you find in quiet, not the kind you earn or keep, not the kind that fills the hollow or replaces missing sleep. Something like a temperature, a drop of 2 degrees, something like a window open just enough to breathe. I've read about the monasteries, the years of practiced calm, but this arrived on a Tuesday without method, without psalm. Between the second and the third cup, between 2 ordinary things, in the space before I reached for what the afternoon still brings. I won't try to hold it. I've done that enough. The tighter that I've gripped things, the faster they've been lost. So I leave it where it landed, in the light beside my knee, and go about the afternoon and let it follow me. Something like peace, not quite peace. Something close, something like just close enough. Just that. I took the road that bends behind the old grain storage lot, past the fence that's always leaning and the gate that's always not. Nobody comes this way much. The asphalt thin and pale, I found it years ago by accident and kept it like a trail. There's a field that's gone to goldenrod along the left-hand side. In summer it was yellow, now it's something brown and dried. A crow on a fence post, watch me come and watch me go. Not alarmed, not curious, the way that only crows know. No destination earns this road, no errand justifies the turn. I come here when the other roads have nothing left to learn. The gravel sounds beneath me like a conversation low between the souls of something worn, and somewhere I don't go. There's a house set back from everything, with curtains always drawn. A truck that hasn't moved in months, parked crooked on the lawn. I've wondered about the person who decided once to stay in a place the map forgot, and let the rest go on its way. No destination earns this road, no errand justifies the turn. I come here when the other roads have nothing left to learn. The gravel sounds beneath me like a conversation low between the souls of something worn, and somewhere I don't go. The sky out here is wider, pressed against the tree line flat. No building interrupts it, and I'm grateful just for that. The light is going sideways the way it does by 4. I've been out here long enough to not need any more. I'll loop back through the underpass beneath the rusted bridge, past the sign that's lost its lettering along the gravel ridge. By the time I reach the main road, the evening will be thin, and I'll have gone through nowhere and come back as if I'd been. The main road will be there, it always is. I'll find my way back, the way water finds the lowest place, without deciding. The ceiling in this room sits lower than it should. The plaster shows its age in patches where it could. A water stain from years ago has dried into a shape. I've named it different things depending on the day's escape. The radiator ticks its old familiar code, a language I've been learning since I moved into this road. The window has a draft that only comes in March. I've stuffed it with a dish towel, gone a little stiff with starch. Not the kind of heavy that requires a remedy. Not the kind of low that asked for company. More like wool against the skin on a day that isn't cold. More like furniture that fits because it's simply old. I've rearranged this room some dozen times or more. The desk has been beside the wall and also by the door, but always ends up here beneath the lowest beam, where the light comes in half-hearted like the tail end of a dream. Not the kind of heavy that requires a remedy. Not the kind of low that asked for company. More like wool against the skin on a day that isn't cold. More like furniture that fits because it's simply old. I put the kettle on, not out of thirst, but out of needing something to precede the worst. And the worst never came, it rarely ever does. I just stood in the kitchen in the low familiar buzz. The afternoon grew dimmer, as afternoons will do. The ceiling held its distance at its predetermined two. I didn't raise the blinds, I didn't chase the light, just stayed beneath the low end of an ordinary night. There's a certain kind of room you stop apologizing for. You just live inside its ceiling and don't look for the door. You had a book across your knees, I had nothing much. The lamp between us did its job with its ordinary touch. Your page turned once, then once again. I counted without meaning to. clock behind the kitchen door was doing what clocks do. You tucked your feet beneath you sometime after 9. Shifted once and settled like a adjustment made to find the exact coordinates of comfortable and warm. I watched it happen sideways and returned to my own form. We didn't fill the room with words, the room didn't need them. We didn't reach for anything, the evening didn't ask. There was a quality of air between two people resting that I have tried to name before and always stopped halfway. The tea went cold in both our cups. Neither of us moved. There are some kinds of stillness that don't need to be improved. A car passed on the street outside, its headlights crossed the wall. You didn't look up from your page, I didn't look at all. We didn't fill the room with words, the room didn't need them. We didn't reach for anything, the evening didn't ask. There was a quality of air between two people resting that I have tried to name before and always stopped halfway. I've been in rooms with people where the silence pressed like debt, where the not saying accumulated into something to forget. But this was the other kind, the kind that doesn't cost, where two people can be quiet and neither one is lost. You fell asleep eventually, the book still in your hand. I took it gently, marked the page, was something close to hand. Turned the lamp down by a third, sat back into my chair and stayed a while inside, the sound of someone breathing there. I never found the word for it, I'm not sure one exists. Some things only happen in the space between two wrists. There's a river near the town I grew up in that nobody much talked about. It ran behind the industrial end of things where the factories used to pour out. I used to go there after school sometimes, not for any particular reason, just to watch the water move past everything, indifferent to the season. It carried what it carried, broken branches, plastic foam, the occasional boot or bottle that had wandered far from home. It didn't sort the worthy from the rest, didn't pause to make decisions, just received what came and moved it on with a kind of soft precision. I've held things past their season, kept them past their weight, argued with the current, tried to renegotiate. But the river doesn't bargain, doesn't hold a thing in mind. It just moves in one direction and leaves the rest behind. I had a year that sat in me for years, long after it had ended. A particular configuration of events I kept returning to, amended, moving pieces into different orders, hoping for a different sum. The way you press a bruise to check if still the bruise is what it was become. But somewhere in the middle of an ordinary Tuesday in November, I noticed I had stopped the calculation. Couldn't even quite remember what the original arrangement was, the one I'd held so carefully. It had moved along without announcement, the way the river carries free. I've held things past their season, kept them past their weight, argued with the current, tried to renegotiate. But the river doesn't bargain, doesn't hold a thing in mind. It just moves in one direction and leaves the rest behind. There's no technique to this, no practice I can recommend. I only know the river was still running at the end, and the boot and the bottle and the branch from somewhere north all arrived at the same water, regardless of their worth. I went back to that river a few years ago now. It was smaller than I remembered, or I was larger somehow. The factories were gone, the banks had grown with reeds, and the water moved the same way, paying nothing any heed. I stood there for a while, watching nothing in particular pass. A leaf, a piece of light, the shadow of a bird across the glass of the water. And then I walked back the way I came, the river still going, still the same. The awning outside has a leak that lands on the same stone each time. A sound like a clock that's decided to count in an unfamiliar rhyme. I've been here 2 hours already, the second cup long since gone cold. The waiter has stopped asking, the way good waiters learn to hold. The table has initials carved into its lower left. Someone declared themselves here once, then left without the rest. The wood is dark from years of elbows, cups and winter coats. I add my own elbow to the archive and order without notes. Outside the rain makes mirrors of the stones along the street, and every passing figure is doubled at the feet. The cafe holds its temperature a degree above the rest, and nobody who's sitting here is anywhere expressed. A woman by the window has been writing since I came. Her pen moves without stopping, the pages look the same. I wonder what accumulates in that unbroken line, whether it arrives already formed or assembles as she writes mine. The espresso machine releases its long and measured breath, a sound the whole room knows by now and borrows without theft. The barista wipes the counter with a cloth that seemed too much, adjusts a cup by half an inch and doesn't look at such. Outside, the rain makes mirrors of the stones along the street, and every passing figure is doubled at the feet. The cafe holds its temperature a degree above the rest, and nobody who's sitting here is anywhere expressed. I came in from the rain without a plan to stay this long, but the door kept out the afternoon, and the afternoon was wrong. For whatever it is I'm doing in this corner by the wall, in the company of strangers who are not together at all. By 5, the light has shifted through the glass a different gray. The woman has stopped writing and is simply looking away. I gather nothing, leave a coin beside the cold cup's ring, step out into the mirrored street and become a double thing. The awning drips behind me now onto the same stone, same count, same indifferent rhythm. I don't look back. I used to set 3 alarms, each one 5 minutes past the last. A ladder out of sleep, built from anxiety in glass. Now I wake without them, to a room that's just begun, and lie there in the in-between of darkness and the sun. There's a particular quality to time before it's named, before you've checked the hour, and the hour has been claimed. It could be 6 or could be 8. The body doesn't ask, it only knows the temperature the light through curtains cast. I've been somewhere between 2 points I cannot see, moving without markers at a speed that suits only me. Not slow enough to call it stopped, not fast enough to trace, just occupying forward at an unrecorded pace. I read once that the body has its own accounting of the hours, that somewhere in the chest a rhythm keeps its towers, independent of the clock, indifferent to the date, ticking at the speed of blood, arriving when it's late. I've tried to match that rhythm with the one the city keeps, but the city runs on something else, a frequency that seeps into the gaps between thoughts and fills them up with noise. I've been learning to prefer my body's quieter voice. I've been somewhere between 2 points I cannot see, moving without markers at a speed that suits only me. Not slow enough to call it stopped, not fast enough to trace, just occupying forward at an unrecorded pace. A friend once said I moved like someone who had nowhere to be. I took it as an insult for about a week or 3. Then somewhere in the middle of a Tuesday going slow, I understood what he had seen and let the insult go. The afternoon will end the way all afternoons conclude, not because I finished anything or reached a magnitude, just because the light has its own appointments to keep, and I'll follow it down into something close to sleep. Somewhere a clock is counting something I stopped counting years ago. I can hear it through the wall, going about its business, faithful to a number I no longer owe. Hangs beside the door on the same hook it's always used. The left shoulder slightly lower from the way I carry bruised. Against one side more than the other, a habit of the road. The coat has learned my posture better than I've learned my own. The lining has a pocket with a seam that gave up years ago. I keep nothing valuable there, just the things I mean to throw. A receipt from a place I can't recall, a button that belongs elsewhere, a folded piece of paper with a number I won't call. There are things that ask nothing of you, only that you return, that hang in the same position, patient beyond what they earn. The coat knows where I've been by the smell of it alone. 3 cities and a winter, and a version of a home. from a market stall in a city I was passing through. The man who sold it said nothing. I didn't need him to. It fit the way things fit when they were made for someone else, and somehow found their way to the right set of shoulders. There are things that ask nothing of you, only that you return, that hang in the same position, patient beyond what they earn. The coat knows where I've been by the smell of it alone. 3 cities and a winter, and a version of a home. Someone once said I should replace it. The elbows going thin. I nodded like I'd consider it and put it on again. There's a particular weight to something broken and just right, the way it settles on the shoulders, like the end of a long night. This morning I put it on before I thought to choose. Stood in the hallway for a moment with no particular news. The day outside was gray, and neither warm nor cold, just the kind of day a coat like this was always meant to hold. I'll wear it till it can't be worn, and maybe past that point, some things earn the right to fall apart at their own chosen joint. Up before the alarm, which never happens much. Lay there in the ordinary ceiling, not thinking about such things as tend to accumulate before the day begins. Just the light behind the curtain and the sound of early winds. The coffee came out right, which also isn't guaranteed. The ratio of things aligned without particular need. I stood beside the counter longer than I had to stand, watching steam rise off the surface with a cup in each hand. I couldn't tell you why if someone stopped to ask. The morning held no special gift, no item off a list, just a quality of ordinary, slightly more than usual clear. The kind of day that doesn't know how good it is from here. I took the longer route to nowhere, stopped to watch a dog being walked by someone reading something on their phone. The dog looked up at me, I looked back for a while. We shared a moment neither of us could explain or file. The afternoon came easy, the way they sometimes do, without the usual weight of it, without the residue. I sat outside a while, let the sun come at an angle across the back of my hand in a way I didn't manage. I couldn't tell you why if someone stopped to ask. The morning held no special gift, no item off a list, just a quality of ordinary, slightly more than usual clear. The kind of day that doesn't know how good it is from here. I've tried to manufacture it when the gray ones come in rows, replicate the variables, control the undertows. But it doesn't work like that. It arrives without a method, like a frequency that finds you when you stopped trying to get it. By evening I had done approximately nothing notable. The day had moved through me like water through a table, left no mark I could identify, no residue or trace, just the particular sensation of having taken place. I didn't write it down, I thought about it, then decided some days are only good while they're still happening. The office empties out by 4 on days nobody planned. The chairs pushed in at different angles, nobody reprimand. The screensavers have started their slow and looping drift, and the coffee in the pot has gone past the point of gift. I stayed behind for no good reason, or no reason I could name. Just wasn't ready for the outside with its volume and its claim. The fluorescents hummed above me at their fixed and faithful pitch, the kind of sound you only hear when everything else has switched. There's a quality to empty rooms that occupied ones lose, a permission in the absence of the ordinary cues. The air sits differently when no one's moving through it. The afternoon extends itself and no one rushes to undo it. I walked through the empty kitchen, filled a glass and left it there. Moved into the meeting room and sat in someone's chair. The view from there was different, same window, different sky. I'd never sat that side before, I didn't wonder why. The plants along the window ledge were doing what plants do, indifferent to the schedule, indifferent to the view. One of them was leaning toward the glass at a slight degree. I straightened it, then wondered if that's what it wanted to be. There's a quality to empty rooms that occupied ones lose a permission in the absence of the ordinary cues. The air sits differently when no one's moving through it. The afternoon extends itself and no one rushes to undo it. I've read that certain animals return to places after the rest have gone. Not out of loneliness exactly, more like needing to confirm that the place exists without them, that the room holds its own shape, that the chairs stay where they're left and the afternoon won't wait. By 5 the light had shifted from its afternoon position, gone a shade more golden in its downward ammunition. I gather nothing, turn no lights on, let the dimming do its work. Put my coat on at the doorway and step back into the world. The elevator took a moment longer than it usually did. I watched the numbers change above me like a secret someone hid. And when the lobby opened with its marble and its hum, I walked out into the evening like I hadn't come from somewhere quiet and still and almost gone. The plants are still in there, leaning or not leaning. By now, in the dark, nobody checking, nobody straightening, just growing the way things grow when no one's asking them to. I've been sitting here so long, the room has stopped performing. It no longer holds its posture for an audience of me. The walls have gone back to being walls, the light has gone back to being light, and I have gone back to being something close to almost right. I tried to think of something, but the thinking didn't start. Just a low and even frequency somewhere near the heart. Not a feeling I could name, not the absence of a feeling, more like the space between two notes that holds the whole thing's meaning. Almost nothing, which is different from nothing. Nothing has an edge to it, a place where something was. Almost nothing is the state just before the question forms, before the answer matters, before the wanting starts. I've spent a lot of effort filling every available space with sound or task or movement or somebody's face. But the effort always settles back into the same return, the almost nothing underneath it, patient in its turn. My hands are in my lap, I notice them as if from far, the way you notice hands in paintings belonging to someone similar. They're doing nothing useful, which is what hands rarely do. When left without instruction, they just rest and see it through. Almost nothing, which is different from nothing. Nothing has an edge to it, a place where something was. Almost nothing is the state, just before the question forms, before the answer matters, before the wanting starts. A friend once called this emptiness and meant it as a concern. I didn't have the words then for what I've since come to learn, that there are different kinds of empty, the way there are different kinds of full. And this particular variety is the one I find most full. The evening hasn't started yet, the afternoon still holds its pale and unremarkable position as it folds into the next thing quietly, the way all things conclude, not with declaration, just with gratitude. Almost nothing, and the almost is the whole of it. The almost is where I live most days, in the space just before anything begins. I should have left an hour ago by anyone's accounting. The reasonable version of the day had already finished mounting its case for moving forward, for the next thing and the next. But I pulled my coat back off again and sat against the rest. There wasn't anything specific keeping me in place, no unfinished conversation, no particular face, just the quality of the hour and the way the room had settled into something I was part of, something ordinary and gentle. I stayed a little longer, past the point of reason, past the last train and the last light, past the end of the season. Not because I had to, not because I was afraid, just because the leaving wasn't quite ready to be made. I've left too quickly before, out of habit or of duty. Walked away from ordinary rooms before they'd shown their beauty. Collected coats and bags and reasons while the hours still had something. Moved toward the door before the room had finished saying nothing. So this time I stayed through the lamp going low, through the particular silence that only the late hours know, through the settling of the building, its slow and cooling breath, through the space between two thoughts where nothing follows next. I stayed a little longer, past the point of reason, past the last train and the last light, past the end of the season. Not because I had to, not because I was afraid, just because the leaving wasn't quite ready to be made. There's a version of departing that doesn't close the door, that leaves the room still breathing the way it was before, where you carry the room with you, not as memory or weight, but as the temperature of something you were wise enough to wait. By the time I finally left, the street was almost clear, one or two late figures moving through the atmosphere. I walk without direction for a block or maybe more, breathing in the cool down evening, the way you breathed before. I don't know what I was waiting for, I'm not sure it was waiting, more like standing in a doorway between two kinds of late, the kind that asks you to move on, the kind that lets you be. I chose the second one that night, and it was enough for me.